What's going on, everyone? Alliance Orc here, and welcome back to another video. And in this video, as the title is no doubt riddling to you guys, we are going to discuss, is the liberation of Undermine one of the best raids we've had in World of Warcraft in a while? I know this is a bit of a dicey question for a lot of people, and I know everyone has their opinion on what the greatest raid is. But before we get too far into this, we need to learn about the main boss, that boss being Chrome King Gallywix. So I know a lot of people have said Gallywix is just Garrosh 3.0. Gallywix is just another horde leader getting killed off. But if you ask me, when has Gallywix ever had the Horde's best interest at heart? Gallywix has always been and always will be about lining his own pockets and getting whatever it is he wants. Gallywix has always been out for himself and has done really anything he can to get the bigger end of the deal, whether that's false loyalty under Sylvanas, working with the brokers in Tazavesh, or even ruling his own race with an iron boot. Gallywix is not above any of that. So, to everyone who says Gallywix is Garrosh 3.0, no. Gallywix is just the villain who finally showed his hand. And because of that, one thing I feel really sets Undermine above every other raid is I feel like this is the only goblin themed raid we will ever have. Because Gallywix has always been kind of the sore thumb of the goblin community. So going forward, I do not see another goblin themed raid for a long time. And I absolutely love that about this raid. But something that this raid did that really kind of set it apart from all of the other raids is it introduced its own reward system, which you can find right here. By clicking on this, you will see that this raid has its own renown track, which is the first raid to ever do that. And of course, the rewards start off small and mild, but why don't we just take a look and see just how this raid affects everyone as a whole. So obviously, as you start with a renown track, the rewards are going to suck, but they're going to get good later on, meaning that the first tab is going to give you simply access to professions in the raid. It's really nothing worth mentioning at all. Like, this is the worst one you can get. But as you go up, you have the Step Right Up perk, which gives you the chance at a crystallized augment rune. So what this is essentially this machine right here. You click on this machine and you can potentially get an augment rune. But you move on and you have the professionals, which gives you access to transmog. Now everyone, their mother has a yak or a grizzly bear, so again, the reward track starts out pretty mid, nothing worth writing home about. But then we get here, and this is where things start to get interesting, as you have the loyal customer reward, which is just an overall buff for you as a player, and you get your own rewards card, which basically helps you progress through the raid. Which, little just disclaimer, I love how the raid is just the entire Undermine zone. I feel like that really grasps the immersion of the situation. But, anywho, and then you move on to the Renown 5, and you basically get the top player privilege, which will basically grant you access to Muggsy if you have defeated him once on the present difficulty. So this already makes Undermine stand pretty far above a lot of other raids, as many other skips require you to kill the boss 3 to 4 times a week. But this one you only have to do it once, meaning and later on down the roads when people want to farm the uh, the big G mount, which is this bad boy right here, you basically already have your skip more or less. So farming this is probably going to be one of the easiest raid mounts to farm in terms of accessibility. And then we get to time is money, and it gives you more movement speed when you're not in combat. So essentially, this means you can traverse through the raid at a much faster rate. And you get your own reincarnation no matter your class. So that is huge for progression for the raid. Every class basically gets their own reincarnation to avoid running back. It helps guilds get more progression, and it basically it's just an overall it's just a spare hand to make things more convenient for you. But as time goes on, this one will fall off relatively quickly. But when you get to loyal customer 2, all of a sudden you're doing 6% more damage, which is where, at the time of recording this, is where everyone is at right now. Because once you hit Renown 8, the rewards start to spice up a fair bit, really heeding to the collector side of the player base. You have the misguided missile. So that means every single player is able to get their own mount from Ando the Got, who also has the Dark Fuse Chumpactor and Florando the Furious. So that alone is it's just crazy to me how this raid has so much to give. And then when you get to the professionals, you even get toys and pets, so you're adhering to those collector player bases as well. This renown track is basically enticing collectors to not only get into the raid as well, but to push into this content so that they can get their hands on these rewards. So I feel like this raid really calls out and grabs people from different gaming aspects of the game, because you got pet collectors who are going to want these pets. You're going to want people like me who are toy collectors who want those pets. Mount collectors, they're going to want that Florendo dinosaur mount. But there is even more to be gained. And it's all because of this renown track. Because as we progress on, you get your platinum card, which will give you a 9% boost, and all of a sudden, for the raid tier and farming, the DPS requirement to get into everything you need goes down as things die a lot quicker. And then this is something everyone is asking for: the counterfeit dealer chips. These counterfeit chips have been something that the player base has been asking about for quite a while. I don't know what they do yet. I'll probably make a video about it when I do, but they're basically, I don't know what they are really. We'll figure that out. And then, if you thought the 10% movement speed buff was nice, how about we double it to 20? So just picture this. We're like an expansion and a half down the road. You're wanting the big G. You're a rogue or druid. You just want to skip everything. You're moving 20% faster. The farms for this raid are going to be speed runs, more or less. And then we move further on, and you have the special hot sauce, increasing the effectiveness of your buffs inside of undermine. So your food buffs and flasks, I can only assume, they're going to work even better. Again, lowering that DPS requirement. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people start trying to push Mythic because of how this renown track works. Because you got to think, Race to World First, they had none of these. And speaking of Race to World First, what if I told you guys there is actually even a boss in here that is harder than Chrome King Gallywix on Mythic? But more on that at the end of the video. But we move on to this, and now with the fourth loyal customer, you're doing 12% more damage and healing. Like I said, by the time this comes out, a lot of bosses are really going to be on farm, even for pugs. So getting AOTC by the time we get Renown 13 will be crazy, crazy easy. But step right up number 2, the busted rune dispenser has been repaired and now always gives at least 1 augment rune with a chance of up to 3 repeated uses. Let me tell you why this right here is such a big deal. The augment runes are expansion bound, meaning if you're a sweaty mythic pluser or a sweaty raider, you want this, you want to abuse this, and you want to milk this renown perk for everything it's worth. Why, you ask? Because these augment runes go into Mythic Plus. These augment runes go into raids of next tier for the rest of the war with an expansion. You want this buff, you want to milk it on your alts, you want to abuse it on your mains, every chance you get to get those augment runes, because they are a flat DPS increase. They don't count as a flask, they don't count as food, it's just an extra buff, extra DPS. So for the sweaty Keystone Raiders and Mythic Plus people, you want to just bring all of your tunes in here and farm the crap out of these augment runes, because they are going to help you at the end of the day and make you look like a better raider. And then we have another counterfeit chip at 15. And then at 15, even the one-armed bandit will then give you one, potentially. So that means farming the one-armed bandit will be worth it. And then at the diamond card for loyal customer, you're going to be doing 15% more damage and healing. So, like I said, at this point, farming AOTC is going to be a joke. It's going to be so easy. Like I said, even I'm going to start pushing for AOTC because of how easy it's going to be. And then you got the Junkyard Dog, which is just the the Dark Fuse Chimpactor mount, which just looks like this. It looks very good, and the mounts here are very cheap as well, so no reason to not have them. And then you have access to the auction house in the Intercontinental Hotel. That will be amazing for if you forget your food or you need to buy an enchant for a new piece of gear. Immediate access. And then 30% movement speed out of combat. Like I said, farming this raid is going to be so easy, but it'll get even better once you hit Renown 20. And before we can even get there, how about 18% extra healing and DPS? That's massive. That is massive because, like I said, Race to World First didn't have these. And then at 20, you have the Florando mount, which is obviously the T-Rex everyone is screaming about, even myself. I want it so badly. But what if I told you there was something else? Florando the Furious, while it is an amazing mount, has been hiding another Renown 20 reward that has never been accessed before in the history of WoW. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the first ever raid teleport. Our Doors Are Open is a warband reward that will allow you to teleport your characters to the Undermine raid. And of course, you have the High Roller title, but people who do Mythic Plus know all about dungeon teleports. They're convenient. They have an 8-hour cooldown, yes, but when you have a Mechagon teleport and you're wanting to farm a Mechagon mount when it's not current season, those teleports are huge. And this is the first time a raid teleport has ever been implemented in the game. So, is this raid one of the best ones in terms of theme and execution and the way that they have worked the renown system? I would 100% say yes. Because literally you have transmog, item upgrades, you even have crest exchanges here. Like this, you have convenience factors galore in this raid. But let's hop back and let's talk about achievements for a second. So, when it comes to the raid, the Glory mount, the Junkmeister's Magneto tech, is one of the best raid looking mounts I've ever seen for glories. And it's no surprise that the achievements are actually very, very, very easy. Majority of these achievements are going to be easily soloable aside from scheming on a thing. The rest of these are basically soloable in the future expansions to come. So, beautiful mount that you can get. But the reason why I brought up the achievements and glory is because remember how I said that this raid also has a super boss that is harder than Mythic Gallywix? That's because in the achievement one rank higher, I learned that our good friend the one armed bandit actually has a extra title reward hidden in his fight. But if you were to ask me what the hardest boss in this raid is, it wouldn't be Gallywix. It would be the mythic one armed bandit with 4 coins inserted. That's right, 4 coins inserted in this boss on mythic difficulty, and you have something out of the nightmare pits of hell that not even Chrome King Gallywix on mythic stands a chance against. And of course, there is a reward for that as well. And I feel like it's kind of funny because it basically rips on the Underpin title because it's called The Real Deal, except you switch out the A for an extra E. But yeah, is this one of Blizzard's best raids they've done? Absolutely. I love this raid. It is a phenomenal piece of work. And I'm honestly excited to see what they bring out next because Undermine genuinely brought me back into Keystones. It brought me back into raiding, and I'm excited to see where we go from there. I want to see them bring more renown tracks into the game because I feel like the renown system for the raid is really what pushed this raid miles above every other raid so far. Not to say that they're bad, I'm just saying that this right here is a major step up because it really grabs other people and gives you perks and benefits. Like, our doors are open is probably the biggest thing you can get from this raid. It's huge in several different ways. And like I said, I hope Blizzard actually keeps doing more renown for these type of raids because the renown system, in my opinion, is a banging success. And like I said, this raid is going to always be like a good raid in my eyes because, like I said at the start of the video, this is quite honestly one of the only goblin themed raids that we will ever get in WoW's lifespan because Kellywix was always the big bad when it came to the goblin race. But with that being said, we're going to wrap this video up. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to subscribe. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I upload tons of World of Warcraft content, and I will see you guys in the next video.